Hello, welcome back to Emerge, the health podcast for busy, high performing women. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Swenson Ridley. Today, I wanted to talk about something I've been very much aware of and thinking about this last week. For those who listen to the show regularly, you probably heard me talk about I had wrist surgery for the second time about a week ago. And going into it, I had some apprehension and also really decided to choose to just have this be not a big deal and that the pain wasn't going to be horrible and that I was going to recover really well. So I went into it kind of with this intentionality. And what I wanted to talk about is pain and managing pain, because I think this is an area, it doesn't just trip us up in terms of food choices and emotions and all of that. It can also trip us up in healing, moving forward, and allowing ourselves to get stuck or slide backwards. And I know I've experienced this, and I'm sure other people have. So we're going to go a little bit deep on this topic, but also talk about, what your other options are to manage pain. Because I think, and I would actually argue that men are a lot worse at this because they don't do sick or hurting very well. But for us as women too, we either focus on it to a point where it's severely impacting and taking us away from just being present and with the people that we love and the things that we do, and it's holding us back in some way, or we just don't pay any attention to it and are like, take the pill to numb the thing and make it go away. And I would actually argue that there's other things that we do to numb and take us away from feeling something that's unpleasant or not there. So, or that we don't want to feel, right? Our entire addictive process, we use food, we use alcohol, we use, romance novels, we use all kinds of things to help just take us away and not focus on whatever is causing the pain, whether it's physical or emotional or both, because a lot of times they're tied together. And so I wanted to share, just some of the things that I have been doing in going through this experience and process. And obviously, I get prescribed some pretty heavy duty painkillers. Hydrocodone is what I have had this time, which is like a heavy, high level of acetaminophen, basically. And that's all well and good and definitely helps with the pain. And I also know that it backs up my liver, and my stomach started to get rather upset about 2 days into taking it. And so I am really intentional about doing other things so that I don't need as much of it. It's not that I'm never going to take this stuff, but I'm not going to depend on it, rely on it, and, kind of get into this place of like mental workup if I start to feel some pain and it's before I can take the next dose or whatever that looks like. And I've actually gotten down to, I don't think I've even had any in the last, well, not quite 24 hours. I overdid it a little bit yesterday. So I allowed myself to have, that relief just to give the body a chance to heal. Because what happens is when we focus on the pain or in pain and unable to break that cycle. And this is where, when we talk about managing pain, like from a prescription level in Western medicine, the idea of managing pain is to not allow your body to go into that place of like stress and shock, because that's going to detract from healing. And so we want to manage that to where it's not that you don't have the pain, but you're functional, right? Unfortunately, I think a lot of us bring that perspective. Either we don't approach it right in that we allow ourselves to go too far, or we preemptively almost do too much of the pain managing and hurt ourselves more in that realm as well. And so some of the things that I do and have been doing to just help manage the pain in between dosing and really helping myself get off of, I only took like the full prescribed amount of the pain medication for one day, and I've been gradually reducing how much I need rather quickly, in my opinion. They went in and took a bunch of, I think I had 6 half-inch screws and a huge metal plate in my arm, and they took that out. So, that there's pain definitely going on and associated with that in my arm. And then they also went in and cleared out the tearing and a bunch of scar tissue in my wrist where it had torn again. So, like, not small things, right? This is like a violent procedure has been done on my body, and I'm recovering from that. And so there's like the emotional side of coming out of being under anesthesia and not, aware of or in control of my body for a little while. They gave me a nerve block. So like that's a super weird experience and all of that. But, I chose to really take control of my thoughts, have a positive attitude about it. I've been meditating. I've actually done a couple one-handed coffee enemas, which has been interesting. we'll just we'll say that, but, they're how coffee enemas came into being, I've shared this on the show before, is they helped manage pain when they ran out of morphine in World War One. So that was one of the things they actually, used coffee enemas to help with pain during and after surgery and all this stuff. So it's one of those things that just helps curb that pain response and pain cycle and also helps with inflammation. And then some of the things, the majority of what I use actually is my personal medicine cabinet is a lot of essential oils. And I haven't talked about them all that much on the show, but I love oils. They're the natural essence of plants. They affect the body not just in a physical sense, but also through your limbic system, so on an emotional level. And I find they're really, really helpful in helping to manage pain. So one of the things I use, I'm partial to doTERRA just because of how consistent they are in testing their product, and they've actually gotten a pharmaceutical grade rating on quite a few of their oils now because the results are reproducible, which no other company's been able to show. That's neither here nor there, not what I really wanted to talk about, but I use some of their products to just help in between because they don't affect my liver and they help. Those are the big things because our liver is constantly detoxing and it's also working when you're healing from something. So, I've had inflammation in my wrist. So I'm taking things like doTERRA's Deep Blue Complex. I refer to it somewhat like a natural ibuprofen in ways. It helps curb the pain levels and decreases inflammation and all that. And you can safely take it every couple hours as you're healing through something. And a lot of people just take it as a supplement, the rest of the time. I've been taking things to help my liver bile duct. TUDCA is the main thing. I have been using um, turmeric. I've been using frankincense and copaiba, which are two oils that can really help with cellular healing and with helping some of that pain response curb. And, still taking the prescription stuff as I needed it and trying to be really aware of when that was and what was driving my decision. So, for example, yesterday, I actually got out of the house. I can't drive yet, but my husband and I got to go on a date, which was amazing. We haven't done one of those in a while, but we went and saw the movie The Lost City. Fantastic movie. If anyone needs a laugh, it was hilarious in many ways. I loved it. But, we went and saw a movie and then we went to Costco because we needed a couple staple items so that I can't really cook at this point. And, I just walked around, wore my sling and all that, so I didn't overdo it, but definitely overdid it. Like walking around that much I was sore when we got home. And so I made that choice of recognizing, okay, did too much, time to take a pill and just kind of chill and relax. And I've been finding, and this is where we can run into difficulty with, managing pain. I'd hit the point where I'm feeling like totally great when I took the pain medication. And so I was starting to do too much with my hand, right? Like it wasn't quite ready for that level of stuff yet. I've still got my stitches and all that. They come out Friday. But, recognizing that and either choosing to only do it, use it when I go to sleep. And before I took it, I took my other stuff, just about reevaluated, like, is this coming down? Like, can I, tuning into my body and what it needs? That's really what it comes down to. And then making a choice from there. And I think, what I wanted to share around this is there are many routes and avenues. I know there's a lot of I actually didn't talk about this. I've been through with both my younger brother and with my ex-husband addiction to pain medication and, oxy in particular and just horrible things. It's awful on so many levels. And so there's so many ways that we are trying to escape negative feelings or pain, like physical and emotional pain, and it really manifests in both. And there are other avenues and options, but we also have to reach this point where we choose a new belief system. And so I have a strong belief in natural things that can help my body overcome and interrupt that pain cycle and decrease the inflammation and just giving it time and space to rest and heal. If you're watching the video, I've got my arm elevated behind my mic here. Like, so elevating, icing. I've been using my infrared heating pad. I've been eating less sugar, not entirely is, and that's another thing. Like a lot of times pain will cause cravings, will cause us to do things that's just increasing that inflammation cycle and prolonging healing. We both need what's in the inflammation and we also need it to be able to flush and rejuvenate. So that's where like alternating ice and heat and all that stuff goes a long way. So I challenge you to think about before you just reach for the thing to make the symptom go away. Like what is that symptom really telling you about what you need in that moment, and what can you alter, or what could you try first? Could you ice first? Could you, you know, use some oils, or use the other thing I use a lot of deep is deep blue wrap. Obviously, I've got this huge like wrap on my arm and I can't put it over my incision, but I've been putting it kind of around my forearm and elbow that I can get to. And that's really helped. Like it's similar to biofreeze if you're not familiar with it, but it just helps calm the pain down ultimately. Like that's what it's doing. It's got this nice cooling effect with peppermint and a few other things. That's one of the other things I've been using. So it's looking at, I think pain management is like identifying the cause of the pain, and are we allowing our emotions to get tied up and ramped up inside of that, where it's just actually perpetuating the cycle and making it even worse. Like when we're in pain, it's harder to regulate our emotions and harder to stay in a positive place. We'll put it that way. And then making the choices and implementing the things that are going to help. So, for me, I meditated the morning I had surgery because I actually had time. And I really like focused on having it be a positive experience and a positive outcome. I was nervous about the nerve block because the first time they did it, it hurt like heck. And I was miserable for, probably 2 weeks afterwards. And so I expressed that fear, and they actually did it in a different place, and it was fine and great. And, I came out of surgery and was feeling good. I was a little queasy on the way home, but I also prepared. Like I had a giant salad and kombucha waiting for me and a huge bottle of water so that I could start to detox the stuff. I did a juice, drank some, juice with turmeric and cayenne pepper and some other stuff that I just happened to find in Costco. That's a suja thing, so all organic and good. And just drank that throughout my day and made sure I was eating and doing the things that I needed to do, and found that the pain really hasn't been astronomical or unmanageable. And just recognizing, when I started getting shaky or irritable, or some of those things started to come into play, or my arm started to throb or ache or any of that, that I'd be aware of it and be preemptive and not letting it go too far down that road, and really giving myself space to not just immediately rely on the thing that I knew was going to numb it and take it away. Because honestly, that stuff makes me tired and kind of out of it. So those are all things to think about. And then just really being clear with yourself on where's the pain coming from specifically. Because honestly, only 10% of our nerve fibers actually sense pain in our body in general. And so when you have the point where either you're having chronic pain or you're feeling pain, our body will send signals to that area to make us pay attention. Like, hey, don't use this, hey, your wrist was just like cut up and stuff. Don't, do too much with it. It When enough of those signals are going, it tells the brain that it's also possible that that signal gets ramped up and that our thoughts can do something to change how much we're feeling the impact of that, if that makes sense. And so if you're someone who deals with chronic pain, or someone who has, unfortunately gone down the road of becoming addicted to pain medication, or, overusing it, or you feel like every time you try to get your liver working right, you're just back on taking high levels of ibuprofen or acetaminophen, or, some of those things that we tend to use and just automatically reach for, start to look at some of the other things that you can do and really just tune into your body on what it's trying to tell you about what it really needs, and then plan accordingly. So hopefully this makes sense. I know I'm being a little esoteric around all this, but and also just know there's a lot of things that can help. Like anything that's going to help decrease your inflammation is going to help the pain. Anything that, making time for rest, not overdoing it. And at times we have to test those boundaries and learn, right? And so having a plan for what we do when maybe we pushed it too far, like walking around Costco, probably wasn't really totally ready for that. But today I'm feeling fine. And I actually slept really well last night after not sleeping all that great. And I think I did take a pain pill before I went to bed last night. But, knowing what my body needed and recognizing that, and then just being able to make those decisions and choices not driven by like fear of being in pain, but more awareness of like, what's my body trying to tell me? And okay, is it time for this yet? Or is there something else that will help, alleviate in the short term, and I'll be ready for that later. Hopefully all that makes sense. I will see you all next week.